again, let's go on to the next topic, which is something that we both love to talk about and hate sometimes. Racism, ladies and gentlemen.
Yay!
Yay and boo at the same time. Now, question 3. I'm not even going to bring up the top. Let's just bring it up. Don't miss that boat, you might be. Now,
take a big puff for this one. Go ahead.
It's a 3-part question. Do you believe in this time in America, let's say America for one, you can visually see racism on the streets? Let's start with that first.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to hear that.
I think people have become more outward about it. I mean, I think I have to explain my theory on racism so that so we can have this conversation from my perspective. So my theory is that, and I'm sure you probably heard this before, just for your fans. I don't believe racism is evil.
Okay.
Nor do I believe it's good. I think it could be either or.
Okay.
Which is a thing called amoral. I believe racism is amoral.
Okay.
Much like violence is amoral.
Mm-hmm.
Violence sometimes could be good, sometimes could be bad. Right? Defending yourself.
Yes.
Against a serial killer.
Yes.
Somebody trying to kill. Defending yourself, that's a good thing. Saving a family from, gunfire by shooting the you get what I mean? So I think racism is the same way. I think we've just been brainwashed into by the liberals that it's this completely evil thing. So that the second we hear racism, it's like we put a wall up in a conversation where it's like, for instance, I'll give you an example. I think racial profiling is actually a good thing. Okay. It could be bad. People could use it for evil purposes, and I'm sure they have. Actually, I know they have. However, I've been working in security and stuff like that. And I realized like there's an advantage to racially profiling. There's certain crimes that certain races do that others, don't do as much. If you want me to get into examples, I could.
Oh, here's a question for you by my future wife. Why do you think racism exists? Shout out to Cardella Mohammed, one half of the Cabaret Coquito.
Why do I think it exists?
Yes.
Because I think it just comes from a natural place of when you see somebody that, and this has happened throughout human history. You see people that don't look like you, you're a little weary of it.
Yes.
For instance, we talked about the Native Americans before.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe look, I'm all for America. I'm all for, conquering the Native Americans because we have this country that we have now.
Mm.
However, I don't think the fact that, there was what is it called? Disease that wiped out a lot of the natives. I don't think that was purposely done.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? But there could have been
I'm going to clap back on you on there. I'm like, because Americans, not even Americans, conquerors in history would always find an easy way to take care of the bodies. That. Like, if we know we have disease blankets here and we're giving it to the Native Americans, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But I don't think everyone that gave them didn't know. I think some did know, and with their nefarious ways of, and this is not about racism. This is just about in the times of 1600s, 1700s, 1500s. You were trying to conquer land. You thought you were superior to another race because you just came. Again, that's what I've always seen in history. One race comes, they think they're better than the other, and whoever wins is the superior one. That's
not what it's about. It's the land. They wanted the land.
It was always about the land. Yeah.
It's about the. It's about
except, but then if you look about it, land was wasted on certain places like Montana, Denver, Ohio. Like there's nothing there but just mountains and small communities of Mormons and of the white variety.
Oh, I'm all with spreading out America a lot more.
Yes,
Definitely with that. Yeah. I don't know why we don't, but I know some of it is that land is owned federally and all that type of stuff. I that's a lot. That's a whole like bundle of sticks that we would have to get into. But but the reason why I don't think it was purposely done is because you're giving people at that time credit for stuff they didn't know. Like you're giving them medical information or medical knowledge that they didn't know at the time. I mean, they knew about sickness, of course.
Yes, of course, yeah.
But let's not pretend they were like extremely advanced on medicine. They were still drilling.
No, that is true. But they did use most of their medicines were mostly advanced in herbal in the herbal variety, and that is true. That has been historically cataloged that some herbs and trees and stuff from here in America has been healing properties. Some were used for dehydration, stuff like that. Remember, cocaine before it was powder was used by the natives as a stimulant.
I'm not saying that they didn't have any medical knowledge.
Yeah,
I'm just saying
not
it's
like
not
advanced.
It was not advanced to the level where they could predict that the Native Americans would have a different immune system than they did. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, could disease have been once they realized what happened? I think like could have they used disease as a weapon? I guess it's plausible. I don't know if there's any like
there's no proof. There's just the story of what happened. But here's the thing, though, as well.
And let's be real, they were already conquered after the disease wiped them out. Like they're.
Yeah, but let's not get it twisted. Our European medicine wasn't so great either until like the 1800s. We used to put leeches on everything.
Yeah,
like put a leech on it, it'll work. Like, oh, you have the devil in you, so I'm gonna put a spike in your head, and that works.
Let the demons come out of your forehead.
Yeah. So we weren't the Black Plague destroyed millions because we didn't realize that if we clean the fucking sewers and destroy the rats, it would stop. That's what I mean. Like, we can't boast our advanced medicine and the European side because we were just hit and miss half the time. But we had something, I'm gonna say this at the end. We had something that the Native Americans didn't have that they should have, which was knowledge. And just the purpose of finding knowledge. That's what they should have, but they didn't have.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do that a lot when it comes to history. Is we'll try to put today's standards on the past, and that's another way that it made me understand history a lot better. Is that you just got to understand that was a different time. For instance, slavery wasn't about racism; it was about business.
Yep, it was. It was.
Yeah. Now, I think slavery could have created certain types of racism.
Oh, yeah.
And superiority complexes and all that type of stuff. Of course, I'm not pretending that doesn't happen. That's where I think there is a reality, though, that and I'm a right winger for anybody that doesn't know on your channel. I'm a conservative, Trump supporter, all that. I should be wearing my MAGA hat.
Yes.
But there's a lot of people on the right wing who have a problem with admitting that too, that there is racism. Racism does exist.
Yeah.
And I think that once we get that block out, that right wingers are only saying it doesn't exist for two reasons. One, because the liberals constantly blame things on racism that aren't racist. So it's almost like you're just blaming it on some imaginary thing.
Yeah.
So it's almost hyperbolic. It doesn't exist. It's always a witch hunt. But right wingers are starting to believe that it actually doesn't exist. The entire thing is just created. And yeah, maybe it does. It is, but it has been created. You get what I mean? It's a real thing. And I can't remember the second reason why they're doing it, but
it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
But there's something else I want to talk about racism. And again, and shout out to my girlfriend. She is a spiritualist liberal in a sense. So, and I'm in the middle. I want to say that now. Politically, I'm in the middle. I will say this right now. We don't really need a wall down in Mexico, but we need to make sure all the drugs and all the human trafficking stops. How about that? How about we stop the human trafficking and the drugs? And even more than that, how about we admit the war on drugs has failed, and it has been failing for the last 40 years. So we need to accept it and piss off the cartels. And there was a movie, if you remember, I don't remember when this came out, when weed and the white stuff was legal and the brown stuff was legal. Like, if you want to kill yourself with the brown stuff, then you have a choice. You don't have to like stab a person in a corner for some, no. I've always believed that. I grew up in the 80s in Southside Bronx. Those drugs murdered millions. Names that we will never know because they never had a chance to grow or maybe be worse or good. That's my purpose of political thing. I just want to give everyone a chance. You step up. Here's the tools. Do something. It's your choice. No one else's. That's all I got to say about that politically. But in terms of everything else, here we go. We got my girlfriend's on the roll today. Racism was created to make white supremacy and slavery easier to digest. Getting poor white farmers to believe enslaved people are less than them is how rich slave owners got them to fight in the Civil War. That's her opinion by Cardella Muhammad, my co-host.
Well, racism, that doesn't hold any weight because racism wasn't created by America.
No,
you get what I'm saying? Because that
was created by the
mean,
Europeans and.
Well, I mean, you can even go as far back as,
I'm sorry. You're right. It wasn't. It was okay. Let's go to the motherland. Let's go to Africa. It was created in Africa first, and then from there, it's just kind of like, and the Belgians too. We're gonna. I wish I had that story about the Belgian people that went to Nigeria.
Well, you gotta go back to like when race was created.
Yes.
I believe race was created in what, like the 18? No, it had to be before that.
1500s.
15 something. Yeah.
Yes.
And it was to a degree what she's saying, it was to classify people. But for instance, back then, I believe there was like certain races that were considered black, but they weren't actually black. Like some Greeks, stuff like that. However, point being is that I don't think it was created for slavery, or that might have been again one of the results of slavery, but
yeah,
it wasn't created for that. I think it was easy for, like, for instance, you'd have to go back to like the pharaohs, slavery back then. And my point is you'd have to go back to like even like Arabs and Jews. There was a lot of like racism that went on between them. So
that's a good point. It's in the Bible, in the so-called in the Bible, whatever, that Pharaoh owned Jews. They used them for slaves like that's what it was. Like that's something that thank you for bringing that up. Racism has been here, I think, longer as time we can even imagine. The same way for hate, love, happiness, and sadness. That's always been here for the beginning of the earth. It just depends on who has written it down and who remembers it, and who remembers it in their own version of life. Because I've always,
I'm sorry. I think it roots, just to also go back to what your future wife, future Miss Coquito, was saying.
Yes.
I think it roots from what I was saying earlier. It roots from the natural instinct that something that doesn't look like me, I have to be a little cautious with.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying?
No, of course.
It's just there. It's not my it's tribalism. Really, that's where it started from. And that could go all the way back to the ancient tribes where they just didn't like each other, and then they would settle in different places, so they would become, they would look different. They had different complexions, their hair would change, and so I think it comes from a natural instinct, and I think that prejudice that we have sometimes actually is a good thing. It's actually almost like a spider sense that we have, and that doesn't always go to race. Sometimes that could be somebody, I've known people that didn't like because I had a beard and dreads. It's not race.
No, over here as well.
Yeah,
over here I go to a supermarket dressed up, and I can have my card popping out like this, walking into the door, and they still follow me. My girlfriend hates that so much. She's like, I want to fuck him up. Like, nah, I've been here for 10 years. I've done this for 10 fucking years. It's always going to be the same. They look, it's true. This is a nice little story time I want to say. For the first time in a long time ago, my sister and my mom went to New York. My mom grew up in New York in Southside Bronx, 60s, 70s, and 80s. So she understood and saw all the shit. Okay, she was there. So when my sister went to New York in like 2015, 16, for the first time ever since she was a baby, she was hanging out with my mom, and they were in Times Square, and she sees this big black dude with a little do-rag and like the giant fluffy jacket. It was like wintertime. And he had the Timbs on, like, you know, stereotypical black guy coming out of the hood, right? My sister clutched her purse as fast as possible. It was like right there, right? And my mom's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, no, hey, yeah, it's just a big black dude, and he's not gonna rob you. What the fuck is wrong with you? Are you racist? And she's like, "No, I'm just being cautious." There's a line between being cautious and then an old ass woman, which is your mom, telling you, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like,
Yeah, but then there's a reality of statistically, she's right.
yeah,
Statistically, she's doing the smart thing. And it's not even, and that's where I get into the place of like, is it racist? Maybe, but I don't think it's evil. No. I think she's being smart based on statistically in New York City, you're more than likely going to get robbed by a black guy.
Yeah. And that's crazy. Here in Puerto Rico, you're most likely to get robbed by a teenager. That has no race involved. It's just a teenager. 21-year-old with like tattoos, like all on here, and like 17 tears under an umbrella.
And that's where we get into the nuances of like black guy. Am I just, if you just were to say black guy, right?
Yeah.
Am I going to be a little cautious of a black guy walking down the street?
Yeah. Now, hold
on. If you were to ask me that, I would say, all right, well, like based on just that, yeah, compared to a white guy, yeah, of course. But now if you were to add different things, older black guy, clean cut, wearing a suit. Yeah. I'm like, all right, then now you're lessening the thing. Like you're not giving me the type that I would be weary of.
And you're right. Here in general, it's really crazy. And it's sad to say this. You know, this last year, when I showed all those videos of all those tourists doing crazy stuff before my channel got removed. And I didn't make this up. The majority were all black people from Detroit, Chicago, New Jersey, and New York. And it was always that they got too fucking drunk and they acted the fool. But they thought we're in a paradise. We can do whatever the fuck we want. And they got their asses kicked or got, whatever, or shout out to Tariq Quadir, rest in peace. When I saw Wanda dressed up like that, I'm like, and I love Wanda. Shout out to Wanda and everything else. The first thought I saw him was like, damn, this guy has a lot of fucking money. Like, what the fuck? Because you automatically got the hair out, you got the chain. You remember his like red parody shirt, which was a cool shirt, just very, very red. When you see that here in Puerto Rico, you have an automatic misjudge of like, this motherfucker got money, and this motherfucker might be A, rapper, B, drug dealer, B, basketball star, or C, all of the above. And then when I realized now, when Wanda talked about the story that he passed by people about selling drugs, of course they're trying to sell you drugs, motherfucker. They think you're fucking rich. They think they think you can close out the bank for the day and they can go home, ladies and gentlemen. Here in Puerto Rico, it's about emptying the bag. You empty the bag, you go home. So you got Wanda, motherfucker. Hey, come on, give me like $600. I'll give you everything. Bye. I get to go sleep. Deuces. So go ahead. It's just sad that even here, growing up in Puerto Rico, where you don't see a lot of black people except in Luisa, racism is here too. But it's very subtle. It's very subtle on how you dress. It's not even how you act or how you talk. It's how you dress and how you rent your car, how you present yourself, how you think you might be a badass in one of the dangerous drug dens in the world. That's the difference between how they see you and how they perceive to see you. But
this is where I get to like the spectrum of is it really sad or is it just kind of a thing that happened? Now, if they were trying to threaten him and do a bunch of stuff because he was black, that's a different thing. Then you can go, okay, that's sad. That's just, they were just trying to sell him drugs. And again, statistically, you'd probably be better. You'd probably have better chances at selling drugs to a black person in Puerto Rico, a
Yes.
black tourist.
And honest, you're right. Racism is worldwide. Is in